Welcome to Legends in 20, Tech Sales Power Session, the series where we bring you legendary leaders from the world of tech sales. We unpack the lessons, wins, and wisdom that shaped their careers and share them with the next generation of sellers and leaders. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Jasie, Regional Vice President Asia at Ping Identity. With over 25 years in sales, marketing, and entrepreneurship, Jasie has driven transformative growth at Ping Identity, Darktrace, Workday, Microsoft, and even co-founded her own company. Beyond business success, she's a passionate advocate for diversity and inclusion, a recognized women in tech leader raising the bar for future generations. True to our theme today, breaking barriers, building markets, leading with purpose, Jasie isn't just a sales leader. She's a market builder, culture shaper, and mentor who has paved the way for women and diverse talent in tech. Thank you, Jasie, for making your presence here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kai, for having me. I'm excited to be able to contribute, my experience to the next generation of sales leaders.
Appreciate that. And deep diving quickly, Jasie, looking back, what was the defining breakthrough moment that set your tech career in motion?
Okay, now, I'm much older than many people in the industry right now. I started my career back in the 90s. In fact, there was really a defining moment as to why I went into sales. I won't mention exactly when, but it's in the 90s. I always remember that it was on the 31st of December when I was still in IBM at the time. And typically, year-end closing, my role at that point was admin support. And in those days, admin support basically means that you do order entry and making sure that the order will go through before the clock strikes 12 o'clock in order for us to book, for the year, right? So late in the evening, I was still busy doing the order entry, alone in the office, and I received a call from my then salesperson, a rainmaker who did $1 million port contracts. And he called me and he was screaming at the top of his voice with the background music, where he was actually, I was so sure that he's in a party celebrating the countdown. And he was telling me, Jasie, you better make sure you put in the order, otherwise you're in deep trouble. And I was thinking to myself, I was doing this piece of work for you and you are enjoying yourself out there and I don't deserve to be screamed at. And I put in the order, I finished the work, I went back home, and I told my mom the next day that I'm going to quit because I'm going to be a salesperson, and I want to prove to the other person that, when I become a salesperson, I will be respectful to all my supporting functions and I can do as good a job as he will be able to do. And that's why I quit my job. And it took me 3 months. And you got to remember in the 90s, that was really during the Asian financial crisis. Nobody quit without a job. But I took the courage because I knew at that point what I want to do. And it took me 3 months before I found my very first sales job. I think that was a defining moment. And obviously, along the way, there were many, many more stories. But after that, it took me 1 whole year before I closed my first deal. Again, it was a very long period for that during those era, right? And good thing was after that, I became a top salesperson the following year. And then the following year, I became the sales manager and went on to do pretty well in my sales career.
Oh, that's interesting, which brings up to my next question, Jasie, from IC to leadership, right? You've gone from a top-performing individual contributor to now leading regional teams across Asia. What's one skill every individual contributor must master before stepping into leadership?
Okay. There are many, many skills that's required to be a salesperson. You can't be only one skill. But if you really need me to nail down to one, I would say is the discipline. Discipline basically comes in a few forms. Number one, it means that you'll be very consistent in the delivery. It means that you will put in the effort in making sure that it is predictable, right? Because it's consistent, it's predictable. And also it means that it becomes your muscle memory, that you'll be able to continue to do continuous, I would say the continuous effort to do your craft better. So when I say discipline, it means that, as a salesperson, you need to have the discipline to set aside time to do your cold calling, to do your follow-up, to do your, I would say, the homework of researching your customers, to be always feeding in and listening into news or news feed about your customer so that you know what kind of conversation you should have with your customers or with your partners with pertaining to this particular opportunity. So that's very important. The other aspect of discipline that's very important is in, I would say, CRM discipline, right? Salesforce, I always call it Salesforce. My people always know I always talk about that. But that's very important because when you have discipline in your Salesforce or your CRM information, it helps you and your collaborative team to do a much better job. The other aspect of also important discipline is the discipline of doing regular connect with your, what I call the collaborative team, the extended team, such that, your extended team understand what you want to do in your account in order for them to work with you, to support you in your path to your success. So to me, discipline is so important to all salesperson. And not just that, when you have discipline and when you became a sales leader, that becomes even more important. Because as a sales leader, you need to have the discipline to drive your regular cadence, be it your one-on-one, be it your conversation with the extended team to drive concerted effort to be successful as a team. And also the consistency and the discipline to ensure that you put aside time to coach your people. So I think those things drive up towards, being very intentional in putting efforts in building up your discipline. And discipline is a reflection of your personal brand. And if you are ill-disciplined, it shows in your branding. It shows that I cannot trust you. So to me, having that discipline is not just as a individual sales contributor, but to support you for your future career as a sales leader. It sounds very basic, but I think it's very important because you'll be surprised that a lot of people do not have the right discipline.
Understand. I concur. I'm one of them as well, just pointing it out. Right? Now, moving into something that's very close to my heart, which is penetrating new markets, right?
Yes.
I've never seen a leader as robust as you in my past, where you come in and in 2 years, you're really looking at localizing market penetration, right? Trying to understand here, Jasie. You have driven growth at Ping Identity, Darktrace, and Workday, opening multiple new opportunities across Asia. What's your playbook for landing the first 10 customers in the new region?
Okay. I think the first thing is to find the right people. So what is right? So I think there are a few attributes. Discipline, right? You need a person with the right discipline.
Yep.
The second thing, which I think in today's world, which is very important, is somebody who is highly collaborative, right? You cannot function on your own. Sales is not individual sport. Sales is team sport. So you need people who are highly collaborative, and that collaboration means that the person will come in with resourcefulness. I think having the right people with the right attribute will help you as a first step. The other attribute that is very important to me, especially in building new market where we cannot be in the country all the time, is find people with the high integrity. And also, in certain market, sometimes there are a lot of other practices. You need to make sure that the person with the high integrity will be able to safeguard the interests of the business on top of individual gain. So that attribute is actually very important when you hire, especially remote people working outside of your own region. The other aspect that's very important, other than find the right people, is to really work with the network, the partner ecosystem in every one of this country. We cannot always have the mindset that we have the best product, we know it best, but we need to really leverage on the partner network within each and every one of these new market because they are the ones who speak the local language, understand the local business requirements, the nuances, the tax regulatory requirements, the connections, the associations, the regulatory requirements. So we have to work very closely with the partners. And the bottom line is to gain trust with the partner. Don't try to go with every partner, but identify partners that can have the right thinking of the right meeting of the minds, right, between me as a leader and them as a leader to really want to co-invest into the market. So then put the effort to be there. And I think the last thing, which is in totality, is show up. Don't just say that you are building the market. If you mean, you must say it and you must mean it. If you say that I'm going to be there every quarter, you must be there every quarter and show up. Show up in the partner meeting, show up in the customer meeting, show up even in just building up connections with the team to make sure that you, together with him, really go to the wall together and build the market. I think that would be very important. And so far, that has served me quite well in being able to build the business across all the rest of the country, the companies that I have so far.
Thank you for that, Jasie. Much to learn from that. Now is moving into the navigating the complexity aspect, right?
Yes.
Asia isn't just one market. From Singapore to Japan to Southeast Asia, how do you adapt your leadership and sales approach across diverse cultures?
I think as a leader, it shouldn't matter across culture. You should be consistent as your leadership style, if you ask me. Whether am I doing a one-on-one with my Japan GM or whether am I doing it with a Singapore GM, the approach, the method measurement should be the same. Having said that, we need to make sure that we be respectful of the cultural nuances. And make sure that, in your individual conversation with all these different country leaders or the country employees, show that you are embracing some of these, differences. I think the biggest challenge, in my opinion, in some of this culture is where there's not enough diversity and inclusivity when it comes to markets. They are not used to even seeing female leaders, and not used to having women who may be doing the leadership role. I think it's really because of the fact that they are not used to it. And a lot of it stems from unconscious biasness, And my job as a female leader really is to ensure that people are aware. And once people are more aware and they put in effort to recognize that, hey, let's try to elevate a bit more women, let's try to give a fairer equality, opportunity across all roles, you will see that, it drives emotion forward. So, I have a daughter, I always say that this is very important for me because the next generation, if you ask me, of leader, there shouldn't be such thing as female leader. It should be just leader regardless of gender. And I want to see that across the whole of Asia Pacific, not just in Singapore.
I so concur. One of the major attributes that I look forward to seeing in the future as well, where we are not defining individuality by gender, but for what they bring onto the table.
Exactly. It's your skill, so it shouldn't matter.
All right. Moving on to something that's very close to my heart, mentorship and talent, right? When you look at the next generation of sellers and leaders, what qualities will truly set them apart?
Okay, next generation. I think we all know the next generation is going to be the most exciting era from my point of view. Because it's going to be more around how are we going to, as humans, leverage on agentic AI? In an AI-powered world, how can human being, still prevail, if you ask me, and be able to leverage on all these amazing tools to do a better job? And ultimately, it is also about how you are able to bring your personal branding, whether as a salesperson or as a sales leader, to make an impact to the customer buying experience. I think that is where the future is going to be. What will be the future of salespeople will be like, right? I think it's a lot around the AI fluency. They need to be familiar with AI and leverage more on AI to complement them and to augment them in being more productive and providing the right service and solution to the customer, and not to fear AI, but to leverage more on AI. I think that's very important. Second thing I think is important as a salesperson really is it's going to be more and more orchestrator. The GTM is going to be more and more complex. It's not just about your pre-sale, marketing, your sales development, your customer success. There will be more and more roles using different tools to complement what you're doing in terms of helping the customers to experience your service and your company capability. So I think that ability to be even more collaborative and orchestrate across function become very important as a salesperson. On the other hand, for the sales leader, I think you need to lead by example. Sales leader needs to embrace AI. Again, back to AI fluency. You need to not fear, but you need to use and lead with AI such that I think your people recognize the importance of leveraging on size to do a better job. So I think that's very important for sales leader. The second thing I think is very important is sales leader needs to really beef up their leadership skills for the human aspect. One thing I always say, the hardest thing for a leader to do is selflessness. But I think that's a very important attribute for a leader to have the empathy, and it's about us and not about me. It's about the opportunity to make the person feel, your staff feel confident and safe environment to excel, to try different things. I think that is the part that's the hardest, but need to be developed for the next generation of leaders.